Hey, what's up, guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. Haven't done a CERN watch in a while, and I always say that. And if you're watching on the playlist, you'll hear successive videos of me starting the video saying, I haven't done a CERN watch in a while. And I know a lot of you are wondering when I'm going to have Anthony Patch back on, and I've been in communication with him, and so we'll definitely bring him back on either on here or on Canary Cry Radio. We've had a couple schedule conflicts. He's busy doing other things also, and our schedules just haven't been able to converge, but I know that it will happen as the Lord wills. And so just keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, I do want to talk about a few things here. Just the news coming straight out of CERN. There's been very little about the proton run, which they completed, and now they're moving into the heavy ion program. I know some channels are doing a better job of tracking the exact data coming out, but I guess we won't know exactly all the data or all the ramifications, at least coming from the mouth of CERN. And that doesn't mean that they're not lying to us or keeping things covered. Obviously, they would keep things under wraps, and there's no way for us to truly know what kind of things are happening with some of these tests. But what I've noticed with many of the updates coming out of CERN is this idea of CERN and Large Hadron Collider and the whole thing moving into global sectors. And what I mean by that is that they are starting to have their influence in society in a way that is more public, if that makes any sense. For example, on the 20th of October, CERN and INUSTAR, the Spanish Science Industry Association, signed agreement to support businesses in developing CERN technologies. Then you have the Port Hackathon pushes humanitarian technology forward, where they took 134 participants from 42 different countries, divide them into 13 teams, and they tackled different humanitarian issues, and they have 60 hours to figure out how to solve them. And this was conducted at CERN, and one of the more interesting things that they put together was this low-cost spherical incubator for rural hospitals in developing countries. And, that would be helpful, of course. And other things that came out, new CERN program to develop network between Sesame schools. And we've talked about Sesame in the past. We've talked about the LHC luminosity upgrade, witch hunt nearing end at CERN, which is kind of a play on the Halloween season. But then on the 3rd of November, CERN speaks at UN about laboratories cooperation model. And it says here at the United Nations in Geneva yesterday, which was back in November 3rd, CERN representatives discussed their laboratories model for international cooperation in science for peace. Then on the 10th, CERN DG to become member of EC Science Advisory Group. LHC arrives in Singapore. Upgraded nuclear physics facility startups. And then today, CERN and research institutes discuss energy sustainability. Sustainability. Does that sound familiar? It goes back to the whole 2030 agenda and the whole sustainable development agenda. And it's interesting that we saw those terror attacks, and it might be connected because what they're trying to create is peace under one governance. And interestingly enough, if you go to the Sustainable Development's website, it says here under the peace category, we are determined to foster peaceful, just, and inclusive societies which are free from fear and violence. It's the perfect Hegelian dialectic to cause violence before a conference held by the UN, right? There can be no sustainable development without peace, and no peace without sustainable development. Okay, it's a little circular there. But it's interesting that one of the things that came out of the whole Paris thing was that peace symbol that went viral. And then again, the climate conference happening just in a couple weeks in Paris, France. And why is that important? Well, the CERN website themselves published an opinion piece by Frederick Bourdrais. And in this article, it talks about the climate conference. The organization of the COP21 climate conference in Paris in December cannot fail to remind us how important the issue of energy is for our society. Over the last few years, many research organizations like CERN have joined the debate and began to look at what we ourselves can do to save or recover energy and thus improve our energy management. As a collective, we have already learned a lot together, and I believe it is essential that we continue to share our experiences in order to improve our practices. The terms energy efficiency and sustainable development should not frighten our institutes. On the contrary, this endeavor is a chance to improve our tools and processes and should offer us new economic, technological, and social opportunities. Our scientific institutions have proven their ingenuity in the development of innovative strategies and technologies for research. And as experts in vacuum, superconductivity, cryogenic technologies, we have at our disposal numerous tools and skills that should enable us to make progress and develop technologies that benefit our infrastructures as well as perhaps society and humanity too. Energy transport, storage and optimization, waste energy recovery, there are many new things for us to invent. Although we still have some way to go, I am delighted to see that since the first workshop 4 years ago, many people and organizations have joined us in this now global debate, and that many organizations, including CERN, have appointed an energy coordinator. In any case, the fact that we are all starting to come together around this topic is an encouraging sign, and the discussions at the third workshop, Energy for Sustainable Science at Research Infrastructures at DECEIT, set us on the right track for good progress in the future. So there you have it. The connection here with CERN, climate change, Paris, France, terror attacks. There's a lot to chew on here. And based on some of my research, and I know the opinion of many out there, there is already free energy. Tesla already figured out how to tap into the ether and the natural resources of energy. And we know part of the story is that the United States government hijacked Tesla, and many technologies were developed from that. And we have quotes from people like Douglas MacArthur who suggested those things, like weather modification for one, which ties back to this climate change thing. Now, interestingly enough, though, with Tesla, if you dig into some of his claims about the electronic voice phenomenon and the drama that unfolded between Tesla and Edison, it's pretty fascinating because, according to some, Edison was trying to create a spirit communication machine, what people today are familiar with as EVP and stuff like that. Well, Edison was trying to find those things. Tesla, using his technology, was already hearing things from the radio signals that he was tapping into, and he believed that they were just beings from other planets. Now, Edison mocked Tesla publicly about his experiments, but allegedly, Edison privately believed that Tesla had managed to find the correct frequency to enable communication with the spirits of the dead or the spirit realm. And part of his goal was to create that spirit phone and put it on the market. But again, Tesla basically thought that it wasn't spirits, it was just beings from other planets that he was hearing. So while we sort of put Tesla on a pedestal of a guy that was silenced, and he certainly was silenced, and I'm not going to deny that, to make him out to be some sort of great martyr, I think is also a little hasty, because he also was communicating with these spirits, if you will, or whatever it was. And some have even speculated that he was receiving some sort of communication from elsewhere just to begin with when he started tinkering with electricity to tap into that ether energy. So perhaps he was actually channeling spirit entities, and the government, if you will, hijacked it so that they can use it for their own means. But in any case, I just wanted to end this video with a couple pieces of scripture, because I feel that while technologies will increase and while communication systems will increase, and there's going to be a lot of positive things to come out of that, eventually I do think that it will be hijacked by the enemy, as it always does. And there's a reason why there are scriptures like this in 2 Peter 3, verse 10 and 11. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also, and the works that are therein shall be burned up. God's going to completely burn up this form of creation. And so it really goes back to Matthew 16:21. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? I think a lot of these technologies that will be a part of this global system are eventually going to try to take your soul away, in terms of you as being an image bearer of God, a human being that is redeemable. I think Satan's goal is to eliminate humanity in a way where mankind can no longer be redeemable through the blood of Christ. That's his ultimate goal. That's why transhumanism is happening. That's why the flood of Noah happened, and the whole Genesis 6 event of creating hybrids. But God is going to judge it righteously in the end. So let me know your thoughts about some of this. I know a lot of you have opinions about Tesla and a lot of CERN information that I may have missed. And I appreciate a lot of you guys when you send information to me. I may not always respond to you immediately, but I do try to check out everything unless I had already seen it. So I appreciate that. Keep doing that. Hope you guys have an awesome day. God bless.